Hello there. So I've been down to the White Spring to fill up with my water containers, and I just filled up the last one, just put it in the car, and someone came up and we started this conversation. I just made a remark about his jacket, looked very nice, and that led to him opening up and saying these words. So I went back home, wrote them down. This is what I got. When we fill up with trauma, our natural instinct is to want to run away from it. The turning point comes when we stop running, we turn to face it, and we surrender. The purpose of our lives here is to accumulate sufficient trauma to propel us into what comes next. Each one requires their own individual amount of trauma, and when we look at it we can see, and I drew a little picture of a figure of 8. So the figure of 8 on the left is about trauma received, the figure 8 on the right is about trauma given out to others. So as I understand what he's saying, whether we're receiving the trauma or giving it to others, that is the process he's referring to. We all inhabit both parts of the lemniscate being the name for this figure of 8. Every trauma we give to others, every trauma we receive from others, fuels and propels this cycle. And it builds up and it builds up until finally we reach our quota. Then we stop, we surrender, and this is what happens. And I drew a picture of a vortex arising from the very centre, because the line crosses over at the point where the crossover is. When we've reached our quota of the trauma, this is what happens. And the words that I wrote at that moment, that point, that is the peace of God that passeth all understanding. At that moment our hearts open, we are at peace, our energy centres are open, they align, all is well, and this is our human journey here on earth. And that's from a conversation with Rob at 6:30 in the morning, just a few days ago, and it came for me out of nowhere. And that's one of the things I like about where I live, is that the opportunity to have what I would call random inspiring conversations with people is greater here than anywhere else I've ever lived in the UK. It reminds me very much of being in Jamaica. I used to have such random conversations every day in Jamaica, and I'm starting to discover a similar thing about being out here now. So I give that to you as someone's contribution, and he made it clear 3 months earlier he'd reached that point, and that's when his life changed. And to use his own words, he's no longer someone that goes out and spends £1,000 on a jacket, which he used to quite happily do. He is now a person in a very different state of awareness, and very much becoming one with what a lot of people call the new earth, the awakening, all these different terms used to describe the phenomenon. And he could recognise in me that I'm coming close to that point that he experienced a few months ago. So that's for you to consider, see how it fits you, see what you reckon, and always appreciate your comments. So please like, comment, subscribe, activate notifications, and if you wish to contribute, the description has a PayPal email. Thank you very much indeed from the Polytunnel.